I move that the Arms Bill now be read a first time, and I nominate the Justice Select Committee to consider the bill. Mr. Speaker, over 40 years ago, Parliament enacted the Arms Act 1983. Since then, politicians have spent 40 years amending and rejigging the Arms Act 1983. Each change made was stacked on top of the next, rushed through in moments of political panic or patch-ups, until what's left is a law that is confusing for licensed firearm owners, inefficient for police, and ineffective at stopping criminals. New Zealand deserves better. Mr. Speaker, public safety and respect for licensed firearm owners are not in conflict. They actually depend on each other. This bill starts with that simple premise. It rewrites the Arms Act in plain English with logical structure and practical improvements. The result is stronger firearm laws that better protects the public and a simpler regulatory system that supports compliance. Mr. Speaker, the tragedy of 15 March 2019 was a day of unimaginable horror for this entire country, and none of us want to see that again. But the arms laws that followed were rushed, confused, unfair, and they punished the wrong people. They targeted the responsible, law-abiding New Zealanders instead of checking the systems and processes that led to this country's worst atrocity. They even negated really targeting criminals and gangs when they made their changes. Good law is not made in a panic. It's made with clear heads, sound evidence, and respect for those who already do the right thing. That is what this bill does. Mr. Speaker, a core lesson from the past decade is that trust matters. For law to work, the public must have confidence in the system administering it. This bill creates a new independent firearms regulator to replace the Police Firearms Safety Authority. Its job will be to regulate clearly, consistently and transparently so that licensed firearm owners can comply without unnecessary burdens. It will operate independently of New Zealand Police with an independent chief executive, and no sworn police officers will work within it. Police will retain all the information that they need for enforcement, but their focus can shift to where it should be, pursuing the gangs and criminals who put the public at risk. The regulator will be empowered to provide clear guidance in consultation with the firearms community, so licensed firearm owners understand their requirements and can comply with their obligations. This bill also sets clear limits on what information can and cannot be recorded in the firearms registry, promoting transparency and building public confidence. Mr. Speaker, I've heard the concerns about licensing delays, and this bill helps them. When New Zealand moved from lifetime firearm licences to 10-year licences, tens of thousands of people moved into the 10-year system all at once. So every decade since, the same surge and bottleneck has repeated for the same people. To put this into context, in a normal year, there are around 9,000 firearms licence renewals. This year, we are expecting around 55,000, and next year there will be around 50,000 renewals. To smooth this out, the regulator will have the discretion to be able to extend firearm licences for up to 3 years for some licensed owners whose renewals fall during the peak periods. Over time, this will end the bottleneck cycles each decade and create a steadier, more manageable flow of renewals. The regulator will also be able to issue infringement notices and educate licence holders for lower level offences, rather than revoking a licence as the only option. This keeps people in the system and learning, instead of pushing them out for behaviour that does not pose significant risk. Health-related suspensions are introduced and could last up to 12 months. Under the current law, many people lose their licence permanently simply because they needed more time to get help. That is neither fair nor proportionate. If a licence applicant disagrees with the regulator's licensing decision, a new independent firearms licensing review committee will hear their appeal. It replaces the current internal police-run process with a truly independent panel consisting of a lawyer, a representative from the firearms community, and an appointee of the regulator. Between October 2021 and March 2025, a third of appeals in the District Court resulted in a different outcome, showing exactly why this change is needed. The current Act, Mr Speaker, is not fit for purpose for people whose work or expertise requires specialised use of firearms. Pest controllers and biosecurity organisations perform essential work protecting our environment and agricultural community and economy. Their endorsements will be extended from 2.5 years to 5 years with a mid-term check-in. Multi-user agreements will allow restricted firearms to be temporarily transferred among approved pest control employees for up to 7 days without triggering unnecessary paperwork. Dealer licences will be renamed business licences to reflect the variety of modern firearms-related businesses we have. Compliant holders will have their licence duration extended from 1 year to 5 years, directly addressing one of the most frequent complaints that I have heard. Business employees will no longer require endorsements on their personal licences, subject to controls being in place. And gunsmiths will be able to conduct short-term repairs on restricted firearms without a permit to possess. Import permits will be extended from 30 days to 12 months, reducing administrative burden for both businesses and the regulator. New licence classes have been introduced for museum curators and their employees to reflect their unique circumstances, ensuring their rules are not disproportionate or so costly that they have to shut down. Collectors will also have greater flexibility around where the vital parts of a prohibited firearm must be stored. Mr Speaker, if we want to improve public safety, we must ask, who is driving the offending in New Zealand? And the answer, overwhelmingly, is criminal gangs. Gang members represent less than 1% of New Zealand's population, but are linked to around a quarter of all firearms offending. And this bill deals with that directly. It introduces automatic disqualification for gang members from holding a firearms licence, new offences for straw purchasing and diversion, offences to tackle 3D printed firearms made by unlicensed individuals in possession of digital files used for illegal manufacture, and significantly increases penalties for over 60 offences. Many have been untouched since 1983. This bill also clarifies product definitions, rules around manufacturing, and closes loopholes relating to large capacity pistol magazines and blank firing guns. For individuals who inadvertently find themselves in unlawful possession of a firearm, there are clear pathways now back into lawful ownership. One of the simplest and most important improvements is allowing secure storage at any regulator-approved location, not just a primary residence. Students that live in halls, renters, and many other people who are simply unable to meet the secure storage requirements will now have a safer choice for security. Mr Speaker, this bill balances safety, fairness, and practicality. It strengthens the law where criminals exploit it, and it simplifies it where licensed firearm owners have been burdened by it. It's not a bill that scapegoats legitimate firearm owners. It's a bill that fixes what matters. I encourage all New Zealanders to participate in the Select Committee process, especially those who will be impacted by this law. Consultation informed this law, showing that more voices make better law. This government values the vital role that farmers, hunters, sports shooters, pest controllers, dealers, museums, collectors, gunsmiths, and all licensed firearm owners play in our economy, our environment, and in our heritage. This bill is for them. And Mr Speaker, I'd just like to acknowledge that one of my staffers that has been working on this bill with me for the last 2 years is having his birthday today. Happy birthday, Matthew O'Connor. I now commend this bill to the House.